Hello and God bless. Thanks for watching. Um, Not even sure how I got into this. um, I finished Revelation 12, and I always pray for to learn something new. Um, so the Lord told me to look at Solomon and compare him to Freemasonry. He also told me to look at the Tower of Babel and do the same there. I took a look at Solomon. I read 1 Kings chapter 1 through 11, and very interesting. I'm going to say it now. At the end of chapter 11, there's a very interesting phrase, and it says, a very interesting verse actually says, and this is verse 41, and the rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did and all his wisdom, are they not written in the book of Acts of Solomon? Um, and it says, well, so I went and it's like, so what's the book of the Acts of Solomon? Well, it's the Testament of Solomon, and you can find it on PDF. What I found in that was pretty bizarre, pretty amazing. Um, and uh, I'll pull it up real quick. What this actually is it talks about how the temple was partially built, and when you read this, you read it like science fiction, um, but then you start to have an understanding. Well, maybe the pyramids were built in the same fashion. Obviously, those things, the pyramids, the Mayans pyramids down there. I mean, they obviously were not built by human hands. What this says, and you go all the way to the end, and it talks about how he became deceived and how he was wrong, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But what I wanted to show you was he commands demons to do the work of the temple. Um, he talks to each one of these. There's a boy that's being tormented in the temple when it's being built, and he goes, take this ring and throw this ring at it when it torments you, and I will and tell them he will have to obey you and come to see me. So essentially, he gets one demon, which gets another, which gets two more, which gets five more, and Solomon bounds them and has them work. Um, I'm gonna find a good one here, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, so he gets these demons, and some of them are stronger than others. And what you see when you read this, you see a lot of things reflected in the Bible that talk about like the morning stars and all these demons. Solomon asks them, "Who are you frustrated by?" And they each point to a different angel. Like there's an angel in control of each one of them, a good angel. Um, it's just really strange. So okay, so I therefore Solomon prayed to my God and invoked an angel of whom in the and the Pisagos spoke to me and used my seal. And I sealed her with a triple chain and placed beneath her the fastening of a chain. And I used the seal of God, and the Spirit prophesied to me, saying, "This is what thou, King Solomon, dost to us. But after a time, thy kingdom shall be broken." This is the demon talking to Solomon. Your kingdom's going to be broken. "And again in a season, this temple shall be riven asunder, and all of Jerusalem shall be undone by the king of the Persians, the Medes, and the Chaldeans. And the vessels of this temple which thou makest shall be put in servile uses of the gods, and along with them all the jars in which thou dost shut us up shall be broken by the hands of men. And then we shall go forth in great power hither and thither, and be disseminated all over the world. And we shall lead astray the inhabited of the world for a long season, until the Son of Man." So these things know the future, "is stretched upon the cross. For never before doth this king like unto him, one frustrating all of us." In other words, it won't be these angels anymore. It's going to be one, Jesus Christ, frustrating us all. "Whose mother shall not have contact with man." Who else can receive such authority over spirits except he whom the first devil will seek to tempt? Satan will try to tempt him, but he will not prevail over. The number of his name is 644, which is Emmanuel. "Wherefore, O King Solomon, thy time is evil, and thy years short and evil. And to thy servant shall thy kingdom be given." Um, this goes on, and each demon almost reveals a little bit of truth, or some of them do reveal a little bit of truth. One says, "My mother was a son of man, and my father was an angel." So, I mean, that's a Nephilim. So, um, just really neat. I kind of wanted to start off with this first a little bit to kind of see where I'm going. The temple that God had was built by demons controlled by Solomon. Now, what the Lord showed me in this study was to kind of go back from the beginning and learn who Solomon was and learn who Satan was. And their stories were parallel. Solomon is an allegory of how Satan fell. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I really don't know a lot about Freemasonry. I know a little bit here and there. My friend is a Mason. I know he talks about the great architect of the universe. And one thing God pointed to me was there's a creator and then there's an architect. So what I did is we have here the creator. He brings something into existence. Of course, this is God the Father. He spoke and nothing and everything existed. The architect is a person who builds or designs, in many cases, also supervises the construction of whatever it is he designs or builds. This sounds like a lot like Solomon. The creator, think of the earth. You have the earth, it's made. You have all the trees, the mountains, the seas, the rivers, everything on there, the animals, the plants. It's been created, it's been brought into existence. It has day and night, everything else. Someone comes along, sees the creation, and wants to build on top of it, okay? And design and plan. And of course, he's got to have someone to execute his plans, and that's where the mason comes in, the builder, the worker in stone, the Freemason. All right. My people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. The Bible is 100% truth, so we should be able to prove or disprove what the Freemasons really are and what their agenda is. Guys, this study is not meant to condemn an individual. Like I said, I have a very good friend who's a Mason. I've been trying to talk to him for a very long time. It's not meant to condemn or judge anybody. It's rather expose what's really true and what's really going on. That's all. I'm not here to point a finger at any single person and show the truth. We all are caught in a snare. And without Jesus Christ, we're easily deceived. And let me give you an example of this. I remember I was in the military and I hated Muslims. Could not stand them. But you know what? God told me I can save them as easy as I can save you. You know, we are all caught in the snare, the same snare of the devil. Some of us deeper, but God can get us out of it no matter what we're in. Okay, and that's what's important. And what I just touched on right here, the creator is this, the architect, the designer has a staff. All right, to assist with this plan, and he supervises the construction. At this point, we have a perfect creation spoken into existence, perfect, good, and balanced. Then on top of what has been spoken into existence, we have a designer who is our architect who plans to build on top of this creation using his own thoughts, his own designs, and they are to be executed by his builders and masons. How is this all tied to the Word of God? We are going to explore a few different ways on how God communicates Satan's plan through allegories and symbolism. There's two Bible accounts. This one's going to be on Solomon, and I'm going to do one also on the Tower of Babel. Okay, this just kind of touches on what an allegory is. I'm going to pull a couple of them out. Abraham, he represents God the Father. Isaac, his son, Isaac, his son, represents the Son of God. God comes to Abraham one day. He says, I want you to sacrifice Isaac and offer him to me. So he takes Isaac up on the mountain and he lays him across the wood, which is symbolic of the cross, and puts him on an altar, which is the mountain, which is Golgotha, which was where Jesus Christ was crucified. And he is going to sacrifice his son because of his obedience to God. Okay? Now, of course, we know the story. God provides a ram in the thicket, and of course, Abraham offers up that as a sacrifice to the Lord. That's an allegory to communicate to us how God sent his son. Here's another one I like. I'll skip the Esther one. You can look at that or read it right here. Israel is called the Promised Land. All right, Israelites are known as God's people. All right, this is not favoritism by God, but this is an allegory to show his favor to his people, which are us, the people that come to Jesus Christ. The Promised Land is promised by God for his people, the land of milk and honey. All right, the Israelites were moved from Egypt, which is the world, by God parting the Red Sea, which is going to be symbolic when we go to heaven. The heavens will part, and putting them into their home. Israel is heaven on earth as it is in heaven. Had they trusted God, they would not have gone into the wilderness. So I left that out. This includes all Jews, Gentiles, whoever comes to Jesus Christ through their Son. To take this even further, all right, if we look at this on earth and we look at it as what's going on earth, we know that people want to divide Israel up. And Satan fell from heaven and he resides in the second heaven. All right, his goal is to get back into heaven, but God is not going to allow sin in his home. So the solution, according to Satan, is to divide heaven, which is to divide Israel on earth. Do you see that reflected here? Dividing Israel is to divide heaven. God's not going to allow this. And to divide heaven, God would be compromising with sin. This is all reflected in our daily lives. Here's an example of many. Super Bowl 50, Bruno Mars. He sang Locked Out of Heaven. This is how things get communicated. Notice the last name of the singer, Mars, which means war. If Satan can't get back into heaven, well, then he's going to have a war, and they'll be fought here on earth. Okay, King Solomon. King Solomon was born of King David and his mother Bathsheba. He is the first child mentioned in the Bible conceived out of adultery. Okay. Solomon, when he becomes king, a couple things happen as he is being anointed. First off, he's anointed, and then a trumpet sounds, and he rides into the kingdom on a mule. You can look at 1 Kings 1:37. Satan was anointed. He was actually anointed as the highest angel in the kingdom. Ezekiel 28:14. In Revelation 9:11, which if we go to Revelation 9:11, it says they had a king over them. This king is Satan. This them is the Illuminati. Them is the evil seed. And we'll get into the evil seed here in a little bit. But this is the fifth angel, fifth age, Revelation 9:11. Every time you call 911 or you're in pain or grief or sorrow, and you call this 911, essentially you're giving that fifth angel, the one that's being cast, the king of the bottomless pit, not the fifth angel, but the one being cast down, you're giving him worship. You're not necessarily worship, but attention, which is worship. You're giving him, you're calling on him to solve your problems. You're calling on him. You're not calling on God. Now, I'm not saying, if you're got a burglar in your home, not to call 911, but who's the first person we should rely on is God, not the king of the bottomless pit, 911. That is Satan right here, king of the bottomless pit. And that should be they. They had a king over them. And they are the evil people of this world. And that is Satan being cast down to earth. If you look at Matthew 27:51, you compare this with Revelation's earthquake and the 3 days of darkness. All right, it's the veil being torn, it's the earthquake, it's the earth being rent, all those different things going on, and it touches on it right here. When the trumpet sounds, Solomon told his people, when the trumpet sounded for Solomon, people piped with pipes and rejoiced with great joy, and the earth was rent. Satan was blessed with having great pipes, Ezekiel 28:13-14. Also, the veil will be rent when Satan falls, which is the earthquake, and the earth will quake. This veil being rent is CERN. All right, that's going to open up the portal. That's going to open up the gate. That's going to allow all the evil in, all the good out. Those that are with Christ, the bride of Christ, that's when the veil is torn and when it's rent. Solomon prays to the Lord to exalt his throne above his father. Now we know David is a rendition of Jesus Christ, all right, because David, the shepherd, destroyed the Goliath, the giant, the evil seed. 5 smooth stones. Jesus Christ was pierced 5 times. He was a shepherd boy. He left his flock in care of a comforter, which is, of course, symbolic of the Holy Spirit. So we know David, king of Israel, God, Jesus, king of his people, is another symbol or allegory for Jesus Christ. So for Solomon to say, I will exalt my throne above his father's, is essentially saying, I will exalt my throne above Christ. Now, that's probably not what he meant. What you have to understand is this is telling a story. This is not necessarily every act is evil. All right, Satan or God did not get mad with Solomon until the very end, when Solomon went after strange flesh, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you have to understand these things play the story out for us to show us what's going on. So Solomon prays to the Lord to exalt his throne above his father. I mean, he might have just wanted to be better than his dad. I've been taught by my dad, and I want to be better. And what can I do to improve? That's besides the point. The point is, this is what he said. Okay, and this follows exactly what Satan tells God. I will exalt my throne above. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14:13. Those are the famous "I wills" Satan says. And we can look at a couple of those real quick. Um, 13. Um, for this is God saying, "For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven." Just like we just talked about, he wants to be in heaven. If he can't have it, he's going to divide it. He wants to divide it. So, Lord says, "For you have said in your heart, I will ascend in heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God." Of course, the angels of Jesus Christ, or the angels of God. "I will sit upon the mountain of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. I will be like God." Okay? I'm not sure what the congregation and the sides of the north really means, but that could have something to do with us on earth. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's an act of defiance. Okay? Um, God make the name of Solomon better than the name of his throne, greater than thy throne. These are the servants of King David saying this about Solomon. David gives Solomon advice on rulership and leadership, and he tells him to fear the Lord, walk in his ways, keep his commandments and statutes. Very simple instructions. One thing God does not tolerate is idolatry and going after strange flesh, meaning he wanted to rule Israel. He wanted Israel pure and undefiled from relations with women in other pagan countries. The reason for this, and I mean, obviously it's to follow the Lord and his commandments, but he had to have a law-abiding nation to send his son. So he had to have one nation out of the whole world that would be under the Lord, so he could send his son, the seed of the woman, Genesis 3:15. Okay, this one was interesting. Satan is told he's a murderer from the beginning, John 8:44. The second act of sin in the Bible was murder, 1 John 3:12. Cain belonged to the devil. Okay? Cain belonged to the devil. Satan was Cain's father. Cain and Abel were twins of different fathers. And it's actually, I'm going to pull it up just so you can see it. It's an actual medical term. Superfecundation, right here. Fertilization, two or more ova in the same cycle by sperm from separate acts of intercourse. That's exactly what it is. Occurs when two different males father fraternal twins. So it happens. Okay? And that's what happened with Adam and Eve. One was by Satan, Cain, and one was by Adam, Abel. And Adam fathered Abel, and Cain was fathered by Satan. Eve was beguiled by the serpent for this sin. That's why they have painful childbirth. Okay. The first act as king was David killed his brother, Adonijah, in 1 Kings 2:24. Now, if you look at the story of this, it almost looks like Adonijah was after his throne, and he might have well been. Like I said, that doesn't matter. It's the sequence of events. It's the things that happen that point directly to what Satan has done. He killed his brother. He could have sent him off in exile. He could have done a bunch of different things, but he had him killed. And, you look at the verse here, Adonijah goes to his mom, or goes to Bathsheba, and, says he wants to marry this woman. And I think that the whole storyline is if he marries that woman, he could inherit the kingdom. But I mean, Solomon says, Adonijah shall be put to death this day. He had his brother killed. Okay? Now, this gets really kind of strange. And a lot of explaining probably needs to go on with this. But let's look at this. Solomon went to Gibeon to sacrifice and pray unto the Lord. 1 Kings 3:4. This place is extremely significant. Gibeon is known in the Bible for ambassadors. You have to read Joshua 9. Okay? These ambassadors went to Joshua for a treaty. They were very sly and sneaky. They did work wily. It is the picture. This is another allegory of aliens coming to make a pact with us. And the Lord had me do a study on this about a year ago. And if you look at my Joshua series video, it'll show you how I come to that conclusion. It says they did work wily. It talks about what the Lord showed me was things in the past made it look like we're going to have visitors in the future, essentially. And you can track Satan by one word in the Bible, and that's iron. Everything that has to do with iron has to do with the seed of the serpent, the seed of Satan. You have the iron spear weighed so many shekels of Goliath. You have the iron bed of King Og Bashan, the iron furnace of Egypt. Remember the iron chair behind Obama. These things are no accident, okay? Iron is the seed of Satan. It starts with Cain killing Abel with an iron plow blade. That's according to the book of Jasher. It goes all the way through to Daniel 2:43, where the fifth age and the iron will mix with the clay, which is humanity. Aliens, humans living together. As Satan was kicked out of space, second heaven, you have the fifth angel announcing the fifth age. Okay? They're going to be here. They're going to be bound here. They're going to be here for judgment. Because at the end of it all, God's going to destroy them all. And this is, what's going to happen. Allah and Satan have Allah or Satan has his people circle a black cube. All right, in Mecca contains a meteorite made of iron. Gibeon in Africa is known for a large meteorite. It sits in a mall in the street and is made of iron. Alien implants made of iron. The mark of the beast will probably contain iron. You can get into this. It goes so much deeper, okay? But if you look at the greatest lie study ever known, there's some more information on it. All right. Solomon, during this time, all right, while he's up here, this is the time for him to pray, but this place was significant. He goes to the Lord and asks for wisdom, and that's all he asked for, okay? Good on him. Solomon goes to the Lord and asks for wisdom to be able to rule his people and judge them. His request has pleased the Lord, and since Solomon did not ask for material things or long life, God saw to it that not only did he give Solomon wisdom, he gave him virtually everything else: wealth, money, long life, and health. Consider the verse here pertaining to Satan. You seal the sum full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in the Garden of Eden. Every precious stone was your covering. Okay? The workmanship of thy tabrets of thy pipes, and prepared for thee since the day was created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set you so. I have set you upon the holy mountain of God. You've walked up and down the midst of fire. He's the sum of wisdom. There's not a created being any more intelligent than Satan. He had wealth, precious stones. He was anointed. He was in charge. He had authority. He had rulership. I believe he put Satan in charge of earth to bring us up in God's statutes. Solomon fell from God because he went outside of Israel to neighboring territories for relations with women. These women worship strange gods, and these women enticed Solomon to leave, for him to leave God, the God of Israel, for their pagan gods. These women were the seeds of Satan: the Ites, the Amorites, the Moabites, Edomites, and Hittites. This is from the last passage in that book I was telling you about, the Testament of Solomon. And when I answered that I would on no account worship strange gods, they told me, the maiden, not to sleep with me until I complied and sacrificed to their gods. I was then moved, but crafty Eros brought and laid by her for me 5 grasshoppers, saying, Take these grasshoppers and crush them together in the name of God Molech, and then I will sleep with you. I actually did, and at once the Spirit of God departed from me, and I became weak as well as foolish in my words. And after that, I obligated by her to build the temple of idols to Baal, and so he built those other temples. Satan fell due to pride. All right, as explained before, Satan and Adam fathered Cain and Abel. Satan's seed killed Abel. God blessed Adam and Eve with another son, Seth. This was Satan's attempt to destroy the seed of the woman, which would bring the Messiah. There was a watcher class of angelic beings here on earth, being part of Satan's kingdom, were initially put here to teach us in the ways of the Father. This did not happen because when Satan fell, a third of his angels fell with him, and their assignment changed because they now had rebelled against God. And if you read Genesis 6, you know, then it came to pass those that came, the daughters of men, sons of God, angels, that they were fair, and they took them for all wives that they chose. Satan and his fallen angels did the same thing that Solomon did. Essentially, they left their wonderful things that God had bestowed upon them for strange flesh. They were not completely satisfied with what the Lord had given them. Satan went unto Eve, Solomon unto Ashtaroth. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, but he did not have Ashtaroth, and it cost him his kingdom. I imagine these grasshoppers are significant if you look at, Exodus, and then you look at, that'd be a good word study to see. I didn't look at that, but I just kind of want to make a note of that if you want to continue on. Here's some interesting noteworthy facts. We know Cain killed Abel with a plow blade of iron. Tubal-Cain, Cain's grandson, was a forger of instruments of iron. Some speculate he used meteoric iron. The total weight from Sheba to Solomon in 1 year was 606 talents, 666, which of course is the number of the beast. Solomon enslaved demonic beings to assist in building the temple. The Bible references this book, Testament of Solomon. Shows how Solomon had power over demons and he could get them to do what he wanted them to do. Does Satan also exert the same power and authority over his demonic kingdom? 6:12 in Ephesians says there's definitely some sort of demonic kingdom with a rank structure. So if we go back to the beginning, we saw God was the creator and the architect who builds the architect builds on top of the creation. And this architect, of course, is Satan. David is the allegory of Jesus, the true king of Israel. David was given the plans on how to build the temple, and it was Solomon who executed the actual building of the temple. We all have a choice. All of God's created beings have a choice to make. Satan was given all authority over the Lord's creation, answering to only God himself. Solomon, wise, wealthy beyond measure, he built God's temple. I think the lesson here is that everything comes from God. We must follow his statutes and commands, and will be eternally blessed. It really is that simple. With Solomon, the Lord was even long-suffering, but the final death-dealing blow to him was the mingling of strange flesh. I'm going to show you some pictures. So this is Google Earth. This is Washington, D.C. And this is a clown. You can see this clown. Right here's his mouth. Over here's his mouth. You have an arm that comes up, and it's holding this, which is the new Eucharist, which will be the mark. You have this arm. You have the eye. This is Arlington Cemetery going into the eye of this clown. All right. Seeing it once might not be a big deal. Here's twice. This is Mecca. All right. Notice the clown. This is Mecca right here where they circled the stone made of iron. Another clown in this. And a third confirmation is the Vatican. Notice these are all places of control of the world, influencing the whole world. Notice the little hat. He's got a hat here, and he's got these little things that jet off him right here with a little tassel. Comes down, another little tassel right here. You have his eye right here with his big nose, his mouth speaking things from the Vatican. And right here on the Illuminati box cover, which you have this other clown, Fifth Age. You have the red and the blue side. The blue meaning Israel, the red meaning Esau. Here you have the idol worship. All right, you have the eagle that's getting ready to leave. That is the woman of the Bible. You have the dead rising in Daniel 12, the mark of the beast, all these different things. Obviously, the common theme here is this clown. All right, very small example of what's hidden in Google Earth. I could go on and on. There's clowns all over the place in this stuff. Most people will dismiss these as a coincidence, and they won't think anything of it. But anyway, what does it mean? To Satan, this earth is a big game to him. We are put here on this earth for one purpose, only one purpose. This purpose is to make a decision. That's it. It's really that simple. To make a decision to love God and accept the gift of His Son, sacrifice, or not. Everything else here is simply fluff to distract you. It's it. It's really it. Whether it's money, drugs, sex, football, it doesn't matter. It's all fluff. It's all junk here to distract you. You have to make the decision. It's a game because we have eternal wealth, relationship, unsurpassed love that our hearts desire. But we'll be here trying to milk everything we can out of this earth. And does it bring you happiness? No, it doesn't, because you want more. You're never filled. It's totally unfulfilling. It's a big joke to Satan. To the unbelievers, he considers you fools. You could have everything you wanted. You can explore the galaxies for millions of years. You can explore other planets that God has created that no man has ever seen. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if you listen to Kat Kerr, she's been to heaven several times, and she has been blessed by God to show some of the secrets of heaven. I mean, imagine the galaxies. Imagine I mean, you have endless eternal life to do, you know, to worship God and to rest, to be happy. This world is for one decision. It's one decision only. Okay, according to the Bible, the Testament of Solomon is a valid book. These demons built the replica temple of God. Okay, it's a fake temple. This really means nothing. All it is another allegory to what the temple really is. God dwells in us. We are the temple, mind, body, spirit. God dwells in us as believers. We are built and planned by God. We are His temple, not some building in the middle of Israel. Obama was born on 4th of August. If you search the date in history, among other things, you'll find that this day is the first day of the circus. Do you find his spokesman odd that his name is Carney? So that's it, folks. It's all a big joke. Make your decision.